now time to talk about Red Bull. Obviously, Red Bull has an issue with their second driver and the fact that no one seems to be able to drive this Red Bull car except for Max Verstappen. Part of this, though, is that because Red Bull is a team that very greatly favors getting a driver's championship over getting a constructors, there isn't any reason for Max to play nice with the second driver. Because I think if Max were driving for a team like McLaren or Mercedes or even Ferrari, I think for the good of the team and the good of the constructors, management would want Max to give up his secrets in how he's driving that car, because it's clear that he has some sort of trick with it, which is why he's able to pull things out of it that other drivers cannot. And like his talent, sure, is a big part of that, but I do think that he keeps certain things to himself in order to benefit him in the drivers. Not saying that's a bad thing. That's what makes Max such a great champion and why he has won so much the last few years. But I do think that is a factor in this. But I place all of the blame on this second driver situation on Red Bull's management. I place it on Christian and I place it on Helmut Marko. And I think that the issue isn't necessarily talent. I think that does play a factor. I think the biggest issue is that they don't understand what gives drivers mental strength now, especially young drivers and Gen Z drivers. If you look at other sports, the way that people need to coach now is very different from 10, 15 years ago. I am most familiar with hockey, but I'm not too sure how it is in like football or American football or anything like that. But in hockey, there are a ton of these old school coaches. So there's like Mike Babcock, there's Daryl Sutter, there's John Tortorella. Well, John Tortorella to a lesser extent, but they're known for being these like no-nonsense guys, constantly putting pressure on their team and kind of using the stick method instead of the carrot method for getting things out of people. And it's been the last like 5-10 years where we've really seen a shift in that. And you're seeing a shift towards what they call player coaches. So that's like a John Cooper, or even you're going towards like actual hockey players being coaches, like a Martin St. Louis or a Rod Brindamore, where they are able to communicate and connect in a way with these players that is much more empathetic and understanding and coaching them in a way that will get the best out of them rather than kind of forcing things onto them. And so that's kind of the sense that I get with Red Bull, is that they are constantly putting their drivers under so much pressure and like dangling this fact that they could get dropped at any moment over their head. And I don't think it, in this day and age, is a way that you can get the most out of anyone. I think the way that you get the most out of people is, like I said, like understanding what makes them tick. There are some people who do need that more heavy-handed approach. And I think it seemed to work with Max. I think back in the day it probably worked with Daniel. And then it probably worked with Seb and Mark Webber as well. But these are drivers from a different generation. Versus now, I think drivers respond more to a more empathetic approach. And so I think you can really see this in how Mercedes treats Kimi, where they are really trying to protect him as much as possible from the media, and they're not trying to put any pressure on him, because you know that if like Kimi was with Red Bull and he crashed an FP1 in Monza, the media would have been all over him and Red Bull wouldn't have backed him up as much as Mercedes did after that crash in Monza. And so it's just a completely different way of going about things. And you also see it in how Jack Doohan is doing at Alpine, where he's not really being supported in a way that gives him confidence to be able to drive well. He's always going to have that voice in the back of his head that's like, don't fuck up, don't fuck up. And when you have that voice, then you get tense, and then you're not driving in a flow state and you can't perform the way that you need to. I'm not too sure what it would be like at Sauber. It seems like Haas is a little bit more nurturing, apart from that clip that they had on Drive to Survive of Io kind of scolding Ollie in a way about his crashes in Brazil, or not his crashes, but like going off the track in Brazil. But I think like there's ways that you can still deliver criticism. It's just the fact that it's all going out in the media that I think is the problem. And then the media is compounding this extra amount of pressure onto these drivers. And then there's like the social media aspect that I don't think Helmut Marko really understands. And so whenever he goes and spews things to the media, it just gets blown up. And then these drivers are having to face all of this extra pressure that I doubt Helmut really understands. So yeah, all of that to say, the struggles that Liam went through at that second seat, I put more so down to the leadership and coaching style of Christian and Helmut, and the fact that I don't think it works in today's day and age for these younger drivers. That all being said, I think that if they had wanted Liam to be in the seat, I don't think the issue started when they chose to put Liam in the seat over Yuki. And I don't really even think that it started when they chose to drop Daniel and keep Checo and then swap Liam in for Daniel. I think it started when they brought back Daniel, as much as it pains me to say it. Because if their goal was to put Liam in the Red Bull seat, they need to give drivers enough time to acclimate to F1 before they make that decision. Because not even Max motherfucking Verstappen went into that Red Bull right away. Because everyone says, oh, Max went into the Red Bull and won his first race and all that. But people forget he had a year and a half in the Toro Rosso before that to adjust to what the demands of F1 are and understand the car and the media responsibilities and all of that. And they just didn't give Liam enough time to understand that. He hadn't even raced on all the tracks on the calendar, and you're expecting him to go into this car and perform, and it was just not a reasonable expectation. So they should have, back when they fired De Vries, they should have put Liam in at that point, and then he would have had a full year and a half to get used to that car. Then he might have been ready to be moved up into that Red Bull when they finally fired Checo. Or they would have had a better idea of who the better driver is between Yuki and Liam to make a more informed decision. All of it is just crazy that literally the entire world, when they made that decision to put Liam in over Yuki, was like, this is the wrong call. You're repeating the same thing that you did with Pierre Gasly, with Alex Albon, and it's not going to go any different, because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And they were expecting different results this time, and it didn't happen. And so now they're in the situation where they have made the swap, but both Liam and Yuki have not had the time to test these cars that they're in now. And so it's going to take them even more time to get acclimated and get used to the car to be able to perform to a level that they want them to perform at. And so I think that's what happened this race, is that Isaac outperformed both of them severely because he's had time in that car. He went through testing and then he's been able to carry that through. Whereas now Yuki and Liam didn't get that opportunity in the car. And so now they're way behind. And in a year where qualifying is so essential and you need to be comfortable with the car to qualify well, and they didn't give either of them that opportunity. So now it's going to get back onto them, and the media is going to be back onto them, be like, they're neither of them are performing, like, this is on them. But it's like, no, it's not on them. It's all on Red Bull's poor management that's been going on for years. So that is my rant about Red Bull. I think They need to obviously give Yuki the rest of the year. If Yuki manages to do anything better than what Checo was able to do, they got to keep Yuki on. But now, if Yuki doesn't perform, they probably weren't going to hang on to him anyways, and they can like freely let him leave the Red Bulls group, knowing that he got his chance and he didn't perform. I think they're almost doing this to be like, see, Yuki isn't good enough, so we don't have to keep him. Like, honestly, I think that's part of why they made this decision as well. And it might cost Yuki his career if he's not able to perform, which is really unfortunate because I think Yuki is a great driver. The biggest thing, though, I think, is going into 2026, they have to change their ways because they're going to be restarting a new development of a new car, and they cannot allow it to get to a point where it has the past couple seasons where only Max Verstappen can drive it, because it may be a good way to win the drivers, but I don't know for how much longer that is a method that's going to work. So yeah, they need to sort things out. And they also have to make sure that they protect both Isaac and Arvid Lindblad, who I'm sure will be in a car next year, and give them time to develop before they try throwing them in the Red Bull. Yeah, it's their situation is just a mess. And truly at this point, I don't understand why any junior driver is signing up for them, because it's a system that sure will get you the funding through F3 and F2, but I don't know why you would want to subject yourself to the treatment that some of those drivers get once they move into F1. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Racing Bulls and Red Bull. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about it. I might separate this into a separate video. See you all for Bahrain.